Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Wednesday, September 30th, 2020, and wow, that debate was very tiring. I can't imagine that we have two more of these debates to get through before the election. I think I'm speaking for a lot of Americans, and I will say that the debate was disappointing. This debate was not productive whatsoever. When I watched this debate last night, it probably does rank in one of the very few presidential debates that just went awry for both candidates. I will say that when we take a look at the data that has been given to us about the results of the debate, sorry, I just ran up a flight of stairs, so I might sound a little bit winded, but overall, I will say that this debate was lackluster. I don't think this is swaying too many Americans. CNN's poll released shows that 57% of Americans are saying that this debate does not sway their vote. The majority of Americans are saying this debate changed absolutely nothing for me for the race. And whether or not they believed Biden or Trump won the debate itself didn't matter. 57% say, I don't care about the debates. So while 43% say, it may sway my vote, or it definitely will sway my vote, depending on the next upcoming debates, in reality, that probably isn't true. A lot of Americans would like to say that they do take in a lot of information given to them. But if that was true, a lot of things that have been, circulated over the past just 3 years would be brought back up for this debate that just aren't. Everything that we talked about at last night's debate, or not we talked about, but the Biden and Trump candidates, both of them, they pretty much just talked about 2020 issues. COVID-19, Black Lives Matter. Nobody even, considered bringing up gun control. Now, climate change was something that wasn't exactly too big this year, but definitely with the California wildfires, it was brought back up expeditiously. I mean, we're talking about that being a very current threat to the American public, and a lot of people do realize that. So a lot of the issues that were talked about last night, they weren't really, a deep dive into the past 4 years, more so just what happened in the past couple of months. But, that's just a presidential debate. The American people have a very short-term memory. It makes sense, but it's just kind of unfortunate that we didn't get to talk about too many of the real issues. Now, let's take a look at what the NPR News reported on this debate. So I was actually watching the pre-debate highlights, or not highlights, but the pre-debate panel from CNN. And, when you're looking at the people that were on the panel, yes, it generally was skewed to the left, but we saw that Rick Santorum was on there. And he said, practically, no matter how this is drawn, only Biden has things to lose. But he said, following the debate, that the president overplayed his hand tonight. Chris Christie said that Trump was too hot. Trump's debate performance is nowhere near in comparison to where it was just 4 years ago. This debate was so unhinged on both sides. Hillary Clinton, I will say, is a better debater than Joe Biden. However, I do think that Donald Trump did act very differently this election, or at least in this debate. Probably this election as well, acted very differently in this debate than he did 4 years ago. Now, while there are some similarities, just the fact that he was talking over Joe Biden a number of times, not to say Joe Biden didn't do it, but as Chris Wallace said, President Trump did do it a little bit more. The main takeaway from this is that a lot of Americans aren't changing their mind. But I will say that the results do end up with somewhat good news for Vice President Biden. Now, Biden did not come across as what the Trump campaign would like to label him as senile or not entirely there. We'll talk about what we see in the change of data prior to the debate versus after the debate. So there are 6 takeaways that NPR outlines. We'll roughly go through them. I agree with all of them. I think that is a very good way of looking at the debate. So if you didn't watch the debate, I don't recommend it. I don't think you will actually enjoy it. I know I didn't enjoy it. It was a headache the entire time. People are labeling this the worst presidential debate in United States history. And I will say that this was just a very bad debate. I don't think you should watch it if you haven't watched it already. So anyways, let's take a look at the 6 takeaways. Number 1, even for Trump, he went too far. That's in bold. Well, it's true. President Trump's comments, the ones that were made personally towards Joe Biden, whether it was about his sons or just in general, a lot of these things were not necessarily about his qualifications to be president. When President Trump brought up the fact that, Biden, he was in the bottom of his class or whatever it might be, it was just all ad hominem. We were talking about an attack directly on Joe Biden rather than an attack on Joe Biden's policies. Now, I get it. It's a presidential debate. The Democratic Party consistently attacks Donald Trump for his character. But this was a presidential debate stage. We were talking about climate change in the Supreme Court, and those main issues, and somehow it gets into a point where Biden's calling him a clown, and the Trump campaign, not the Trump campaign, Donald Trump is responding with, don't ever use the word smart with me. Now, I do think that Donald Trump did come up this debate as a loser. I do think that's true. A lot of people are saying, the American people came up as losers, but realistically, we saw exactly what we expected. Did you expect anything different? Ask yourself, did you really expect anything different from this presidential debate? And President Trump, I think he did more damage to himself than Biden inflicted on him. Now, Biden did a lot to Donald Trump, so it's a lot to say that Donald Trump did even more than that. But we'll take a look as this goes through. So Biden did have a couple moments of sincerity. Right here, they say Biden looking directly into the camera turned something he rarely talks about into a positive, sympathetic moment. That is true. Biden is very good at conveying his message and being very emotional with the American public, speaking to them directly. And President Trump did not come off that way. I mean, President Trump talking about how, or just talking over the moderator just really didn't play well with a lot of these voters. When we take a look at the data, we will see that it's a pretty even split based off the CBS poll, but in terms of the CNN poll, absolutely not. So, number 2, Trump likely did nothing to expand his base, and I will say that his base was very happy with his debate performance. I've seen a very stark contrast on Twitter as to those as to voters, whether or not they believe that Donald Trump did well last night. And obviously those who were a part of his base before said did phenomenal. And those who were against him, vehemently against him before, are saying the opposite. They're saying Joe Biden did very well. I don't think that this debate is going to sway too much nationally. We're in an environment where Biden is up 7.1% nationwide. This debate, if anything, should have shifted Biden's numbers down, but it didn't. Why? Well, first of all, why would it have shifted Biden's numbers down? Biden was the only candidate who had something to lose. He has the majority of voters. He has 50.2%. The highest Hillary Clinton enjoyed was 46%, and I believe 48% in a huge, not convention bounce, but a huge bump before the election, but went down to 46% on election day. And Biden is now at 50% with 1 month to go. 1 month to go. 34 days until the election. Biden's up 7%. So Biden only had the numbers to lose. But we probably aren't going to see them fluctuate too much. Maybe undecideds will go up, but realistically, Biden's going to maintain that lead. And Trump's performance did not win over too many independent voters. Realistically, that performance was not good for President Trump. Now, I'm not going to say that Biden expanded his base a lot larger, but his base is 7 to 8 points larger than Donald Trump's, and he already has the majority of Americans before this debate. That's why it's so important to note. Biden had everything to lose, and he lost absolutely nothing. Nothing. And, Trump needed a lot. He needed to gain. There are 2 more debates, so don't get me wrong. He could gain ground. But after last night's performance, if that continues at the second and third debate, Biden will stay static. Trump's numbers will stay static. It doesn't matter. Biden will enter into the election with a 7-point lead if these debates change nothing, because that's how it works. So, 3, Biden's missed opportunities. Biden very well could have brought up Herman Cain. He could have brought up the Tulsa, Oklahoma rally. He could have brought up a number of things that he didn't. And honestly, it may have come across as someone who wasn't exactly too prepared for this debate. Now, I will say that Biden's performance in the past definitely was a little bit better, but he didn't bring the energy he brought to the CNN town hall. He didn't bring the energy that we saw in his Trump versus Sanders debate. So hopefully, we will see both candidates change their game before the next debate in order to have a productive discussion. Because, yes, Joe Biden held his ground. And I will say that as soon as Trump started attacking things personally to Joe Biden got very fiery and was very quick with his responses. And I don't really see the purpose in mentioning his stutter because it is medically diagnosed. So you can't really say, that's his fault. But, when Trump and Biden were going at it, Biden obviously retaliated. But I honestly think that, a lot of people are going to see what Biden retaliated as just, a candidate who's fed up. Because Donald Trump throughout the entirety of the last night's debate was consistently, over talking Joe Biden. Didn't let him get his full 2 minutes, not once throughout the entire debate. So obviously Biden was likely fed up. And I'm not here to defend Joe Biden or his campaign, but I will say that objectively, Donald Trump did interrupt Biden more than once, more than Biden did to him. And also, arguing with the moderator is never a good look for President Trump. So Biden definitely could have hit Trump on a couple of things that he just, failed to do. Trump tried to tie Biden to the far left, but it didn't work. Honestly, I think if you were watching the debate, you would agree with that as well. Biden made it clear that he was, he said, I support our law enforcement. He said, I'm not necessarily going to be, pushing Medicare for all, the Green New Deal. I have an outline. I have a public option planned out, but I'm not exactly this socialist that you like to throw me out of. And, it didn't really resonate well. We didn't see too many respondents who, right after the debate, said, oh, all of a sudden my view on Joe Biden's policies are looking down. My view on Joe Biden as a Democratic nominee, or as the Democratic nominee, has gone down. In fact, the approval rating has gone up following the debate. We'll get to that in just a moment. I don't want to draw these on too long, so we'll briefly go through the rest. Trump's response on handling COVID-19 was more of the same. I think we all generally, or at least if you watch the debate, you understand that. Pretty much President Trump just said Biden would have done worse in my position. And then if you're looking at the, good luck to the next moderator, honestly, I really am hoping that it gets better from here. But so let's go ahead and move past this, and let's talk about some of the data that we see. So pretty much on the CBS News Battleground Tracker, 48% of debate watchers said Biden won, 41% said Donald Trump won. Well, look at the national average. What's that? A 7-point lead for Joe Biden. So that makes sense. 10% say it was a tie. And then the tone of the debate, 83% said negative. That's why I said, if you didn't watch the debate yet, please don't watch it, because it's not worth your time. It is absolutely not worth your time. And if we're looking at what the Washington Post, they outline some of the data that has been released. Well, this is based off the CNN poll. So really quickly, if you're wondering what that was, the CNN poll gave Biden a 60% victory, or 60% say yes, and then 28% say Donald Trump. So for reference, honestly, I think that's skewed a little bit to the left. But honestly, when we're looking at a lot of the other data that we see, CBS News seems to be actually an outlier. It doesn't seem to be this close in terms of who people believe won the debate. Obviously, Twitter polls are going to show President Trump leading pretty well, but there were some outliers that showed Donald Trump winning the debate, but the only news source was Telemundo. And while that may be, personally, to the Trump campaign, may be important to them, the rest of the news sources ended up with a Joe Biden victory. And if we're looking at these numbers, I think this is something we should outline, because I think it's very interesting. So who will / did win the debate? This is just a question that was asked to the people who are going to watch the debate versus afterwards, asking them, before the debate, who did you think was going to win? After the debate, now who do you think won the debate? After watching it for an hour and a half, grueling through it, Biden and Trump were not roughly even, but at a very close position. Following the debate, Trump's numbers shot down. I mean, this is what, a 20 or a 15-point decrease. Biden just went up 5% in terms of who people believe won the debate. In almost every group, Trump's numbers went down. Actually, in every group, Trump's numbers went down. Overall, it went down. Amongst Democrats, obviously, it went down. Under independents, it went down pretty drastically. And under Republicans, well, it went down by a very large margin. Amongst Democrats, Biden's numbers went up. Overall, Biden's numbers went up. Under independents, it slightly went down, but it's nowhere near Trump's decrease. And then in terms of Republicans, 1 in 4 Republicans say Biden won the debate. That's not a good look. Let's take a look at the views of the candidates before and after the debate. One candidate ended up higher than before. One candidate ended up less. Donald Trump lost in terms of how they view the candidate favorably. His numbers went down. For Biden, they went up. Amongst Democrats, it was static. Amongst Democrats, Trump's went down. Amongst independents, Biden went up, Trump went down. Amongst Republicans, Trump went down, Biden went down as well. Overall, Biden up, Trump down in terms of views of candidates before and after the debate. Moving on. Based off of who people believe won the debate, they asked the question, do these candidates have the needed stamina? Are they honest and trustworthy? Do they care about people like me? Well, in terms of the has needed stamina and honest and trustworthy, both narrowly went up, marginally. Cares about people like me, Donald Trump stayed the same. Joe Biden went up. And I think that largely has to do with the fact that Joe Biden is coming across as this sympathetic type, caring candidate. Because when he did speak directly to the camera and ignoring Trump's interjections, it did seem that he was more concerned about the American people than he was about Donald Trump. And, what we've seen from a lot of people that have watched the debate, many people do believe that Joe Biden was talking directly to the American people rather than debating Trump. Because what we saw last night was not a debate. I don't think it was a debate. I think it was just a, argument for time, time to speak in front of tens of millions of American people. And realistically, this debate probably wasn't going to change much. And as we see now, it hasn't changed anything. And for me personally, I don't think I was expecting anything different. I went in with very low expectations on both sides, and that's what I got roughly. I do think that Biden did do better than Trump, in my personal opinion. I think Biden did win that debate, but that's largely due to the fact that Trump was his own enemy that debate as well. his comments were negatively impacting him as well. And while you may personally support and realistically ask yourself, do you think too many swing voters are going to change their minds about voting for Biden? Because the thing is, the reality is for the Trump campaign is they are underwater. They are in the minority. Absolutely, because Biden already has the majority of voters. And in a number of swing states, he has the majority of voters as well. So after last night's debate, Biden had a lot to lose, but he probably isn't going to see too much of a shift against him. And then in terms of how did the debate change your view of the candidates? Well, this isn't surprising. Think better of them is in purple, think worse of them is in orange, and then no change is in gray. That no change is roughly a fourth of both voting blocks. Realistically, this race isn't going to change because of last night's debate. This race has been very static. It's been very boring, very static. Biden has always led. Trump has never led once. Even against Hillary Clinton, Trump did lead her a couple of times. But throughout the entire campaign, nothing has fundamentally changed. In terms of the battleground states, we will likely see some states maybe shift a tad bit, but, Biden's up. Let's run through the swing state list. Biden's up in Arizona. Biden is up in Colorado. Biden is up in Florida. He's close in Georgia by 0.2. He's close in Iowa by 0.7. He's up in Maine by 15%. He's up in Michigan by 7%. He's up in Minnesota by 9%. He's up in Nevada by 7%, up in New Hampshire by 9%, up in New Mexico by 13%, up in North Carolina by 1%, up in Ohio by 1%, up in Pennsylvania by 5%, down in Texas by 2%, up in Virginia by 10%, and up in Wisconsin by 7%. So, like I said, Biden had everything to lose last night, and he lost absolutely nothing. That debate performance was, very disappointing, I guess you could say, in the eyes of the American people. A lot of people did not like that debate. 83% of people say that debate, was a very negative view. It was very negative on both sides. And that makes sense. That debate did not come across as the same debate that we watched between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump 4 years ago. This is not the same type of debate that we saw between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, then John McCain and Barack Obama, then George Bush and, John Kerry. So when we look at the previous debates, the bar has just been set so low that this time I don't know why we were expecting anything different. But this race that debate definitely proved that this election is shaping up to be one that we have never seen in American history. And we're 34 days away? Things probably aren't going to change just because of two more debates. But the Biden campaign has committed to following through with the final two debates. Some people said they may not be surprised if that was the final debate of the campaign season. I honestly think that was definitely not. I think the Biden and Trump campaigns are going to want to continue to debate in the final two times, more airtime, more time to speak directly to the American people. Let's hope, for our sakes, our viewership sakes, that they change something about their debate tactics, because we do want to see a productive discussion. Sometimes there were some faltering moments on both sides, but I will say that, in my personal opinion, I'm ending off this video with this note, I do think that Joe Biden did do well that debate. I think he held his ground. And because Donald Trump has set the bar very low for Joe Biden, calling him Sleepy Joe, saying he's not mentally there, that did not come across at last night's debate. And Joe Biden, I think, did win that debate, but do I think it's going to change the numbers too drastically? Probably not. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord link for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my 2020 election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Please consider joining as a member on my channel, and I will see you all later today.